Blackhawk. And there are actually 14,500 people in this school district.
Sir, 3 minutes is up. We need to finish up your thought.
Let him speak.
I mean, this is supposed to be open forum.
You can speak. We can speak, man.
We can, listen, we have a lot of people tonight that want to come through. If you want to kind of wrap up at the end of the evening, if we have more time, we can go through and do more
45 years
time.
of taxes, let him speak. You let Bob and let him talk for hours.
And I let you talk all the time, but not right now. Do not interrupt other people when they're speaking. We will get through. Everybody that wants to make a comment tonight will have the ability to make a comment, and then at the end, if time permits, we will allow people to come up another time.
So I could
But
have
if you
some
want to just
restrictions.
wrap up real quick, and then if we have an opportunity. The other thing that I will state is between now and the time where the board would make any type of decision, we are going to have 6, 7 board meetings that people.
Well, what I'm just saying is I did my own demographics, and the only way to get to everybody in this school district is to mail them a vote, or have a referendum in November to vote on. And as far as, there are actually 6,869 households in the school district, and actually, I went to all the tax collectors and found out that they sent out, for 2019, 7,417 bills. So that's the amount of people you have to send out to really vote on this whole thing. And again, two out of 3 families in this township don't have children. 26% of the kids are on free lunches. 33% of this township is people on Social Security. So money becomes a real issue. And you people have the bad luck to have got on a board where you're in catch-22 now. You've got no money to spend. So you got to be very careful what we do from now on. And just as an aside to this, I've talked to several people since that last board meeting, and I live in South Beaver Township, and nobody knows what's going on. There's no information that's flowing out there. We got a paper this morning that had some very questionable comments in it. So right now, what I propose, I went through all of these option 1 through 6, and I came up with option 2A, which is to renovate Northwestern. Patterson would, and this is only for K through 4 on both Northwestern and Patterson. You renovate Northwestern as was planned before. Patterson would only need 4,000 square feet instead of 8,000 square feet. That saves about $1 million. And plus everything we do at Northwestern, you get a 14% refund on the work that's done out there, which is probably another $2 million. So after you do that, whatever time I would say you would make this happen when the school year starts, you open Northwestern, Patterson, you close biz, and now you have taxable property to sell.
All right, Mr. Sutton, I apologize, but I just, in the interest of giving everybody the time, I just need to kind of stop you there. And, I mean, obviously, I know I've seen you at board meetings, so.
Can I just finish this one part?
How long?
What my plan would do, and this comes in, and I'm not talking about any repairs, which I have a question with why the repairs and this building program are all in the same thing. It just muddies all the water. This would be less than $20 million to do this.
What I would appreciate, if you wouldn't mind, you know, if you would send me or all the board members an email, if you have access to email, that you could lay out, you know, your plan for us to kind of take a look at, and then I would still encourage you to come to, you know, all the board meetings,
Well, like
and
I
then
said,
we can discuss, you know, the option that you lay out further.
one more thing about this. If you did this, the first thing it's going to do is repair a big fracture that's going on in the school district right now. Because everybody's split 6 ways from Sunday, and that's why nobody's working together anymore on the board. The last 2 boards is 5 against 4 or whatever. This is the most economic financial scenario, and the best part is young kids go to school in their area, kindergarten kids. I went to school at a country school in Iowa, I went the first 7 years of school in Iowa. I would have been scared to death to get on a bus to go to town to high school. And that's a comfort factor for these kids to be in a neighborhood school. This one size fits all just doesn't work. It didn't work before, and I don't think it's gonna work this time if you go to one campus. And to get, if you wanna get out there, everybody to vote, send it the same way you sent me this tax bill, all right?
Thank you.
My name is Ron Stidman. I live in Darlington Township, S-T-I-D-M-O-N. I'm very curious why anyone would want to close Northwestern. It's, I've looked at all the proposals, the scenarios, and I've listened to a lot of fake news, if you will, particularly with regard to the suitability of Northwestern as a place for kids to go to school. I know that you could call it prevarications, made up news, but clearly a lot of the things with regard to the drain field, with regard to the water supply, with regard to the asbestos, with regard, it's fake, it's phony, it's not true. And yet you've done 2 studies, both of which have created the same fake narrative. And it's beneath me. I'm embarrassed to be in this township. I'm embarrassed to be in this school district. I mean, this kind of shenanigans, this is what you expect from some third world place where there's dictators running it. You don't really expect a behavior like this from people who, I've supported some of the people on the board. And I don't know what happens if there's something bad in the water here at the school. All of a sudden you go in, you're elected with the idea that I'm gonna watch out for people's money. I'm gonna be very careful with how I spend the money of the poor, the small, the old, the retired, the people on fixed incomes. I'm gonna watch out for them. And then you get on the board and all of a sudden, money's no object. Let's just see how much we can raise taxes. It's other people's money. We can always get more if we need it. I can't believe it's so obvious what the right choice is. The right choice is to remodel Northwestern, to close biz, sell it, and try to get our spending under control. I can afford to pay my taxes. There's a lot of people here who can't. And I think you're doing a very, very disservice. You're not thinking about other people. You're thinking about yourselves, your petty interests. And it's really beneath you. That's all I have to say. I'm kind of embarrassed.
Thank you for your comments.
All right, guys, I'm Dave. I'm from Eden Valley. I'm a product of
Could you
this.
just spell your last name?
Sure, C-U-N-N-A-N-E.
Thank you.
I'm a product of Blackhawk, and my wife is too. I know some people on the board. I know some of the faculties and stuff too. The reality of it is, we've done without Northwestern for a couple of years, to be honest. It's almost a waste. Because you figure, my daughter right now goes to summer school. I live in Eden. She drives all the way to Patterson during part of the summer. The last couple of years, my daughter never set foot in Northwestern. Either is she going to because of the grade she's going into. We did fine without it. The sad reality of where we're at, taxes are going to go up. That's great. If people don't want to pay them, then it's pretty simple. Sell your house, move out. You don't like what the district's doing, that's fine. It's always an option. Just like in life, you have choices. Because if you don't like where you're at, you don't like what you do as a profession, you always have an option to change or do something different. But the reality of it is, we've gone so long without it. Why open it up? Why open the door for the asbestos problems? Why open the door for the mold issues? It's something that we still need to deal with. Because again, I live at the furthest end of the district, basically almost in Lawrence County. And if I say, hey, put my daughter on the bus for a little longer, didn't affect me, didn't affect my wife, didn't affect my daughter. I go, hey, Andy, how's your day today? It's great, Dad. I had fun. Okay, how's your bus drive? Is it too long? No, it's perfectly fine. So the reality of it is, if we're doing fine without it now, why open a door for the future? Because it's going to happen if we start construction projects. Oh, we found these issues. Oh, these problems didn't come up, we didn't budget for this. Well, then you're gonna start skyrocketing, so the sad reality of it is, why keep it? Why keep something you don't need? Said there's septic problems, so I mean, how many cans of worms you can open, plus we don't have a field there? I'd rather see the money get put in part of our current field, you go to the field, there's no bathrooms, you gotta use a porta john. So you want people to move into your district, you have a good game, hey, guess what, guys, let's go to the school that has porta johns. They spend all this money, it's crazy. The reality of it is, keep it closed, we don't need it, put the money in the schools and the systems, what we have. I'd rather, like I said, see that place closed and keep our staff and keep the kids going educational wise than I would just see a building, because again, NorthWestern was part of the past. It's currently not in the present today, and my own belief is it's not in the future tomorrow, because it's a money pit. The reality too is when you have it, what are you gonna do? Who are you gonna sell it to? Because that's gonna be a bigger problem too, because yeah, it's property, but the buildings are gonna be dilapidated. There's gonna be a lot of issues that's done, so you're not gonna get the amount of funds for the building that we think we're gonna get. So just get it off our hands quick and easy while you still have it, get rid of it, move on. It's for the future, not the past.
Thank you.
I'm Joni Defabaugh, D-E-F-I-B-A-U-G-H, Chippewa Township. Yeah, thanks.
User error.
Thank you. My family and I have lived in the Blackhawk School District for 6 years. One of the main reasons we moved here is because the school district was ranked well. The community and teachers have proven to be amazing. However, I wish we would have known before we moved here about the deteriorating buildings that create an unsafe learning environment for our children. The more years we live here, the more questions I have. Why are kindergarten through second grade students and teachers separated into 2 buildings? Why don't the students begin their kindergarten school experience together in one building instead of joining together in 3rd grade? Why aren't kindergarten through second grade teachers together in the same building to allow better collaboration? Why do ceiling tiles in numerous classrooms leak so severely that buckets are placed in the rooms to collect the water? Is mold growing in those rooms with leaky ceilings? Why is the temperature in some classes so warm during the winter that students have to wear short-sleeve shirts even though the classroom windows are open despite the freezing temperatures outside? Why do students at Biz have a separate computer lab and science room, but students at Patterson have to attend science in the computer lab? Why does Patterson have a cafeteria that also has to serve as the gym, but Biz has a separate cafeteria and gym? Why were kindergarten students who should have attended Patterson recruited to go to Biz in an attempt to lower classroom sizes while adding another bus for those students? Why are the number of students in classrooms too high and spaces too cramped? Why do we own and maintain a school building that has been closed for years? Why do classrooms flood and cause damage as well as disruptions by needing to relocate classes into already crowded spaces? Students' safety should be a top priority in addition to a quality education. Leaking ceilings, flooded rooms, molded highland, inconsistent classroom temperatures, and overcrowded rooms are health concerns for the students, teachers, and all Blackhawk employees. Many parents may not be aware of these concerns if their children don't mention them because they are common occurrences. The world continues to change and the cost of everything continues to increase. We can't live in the past. We need to plan for the future, but also focus on the present educational setting for all of Blackhawk. They deserve a safe place to learn with classrooms that aren't overcrowded. NorthWestern should not be reopened. All children should be in the same school with their grade level peers. Patterson already has limited parking and although spaces may be added, it would still be overly congested. If we hope to grow the Blackhawk community to include those families that will be moving to the area based on job increases, we need to focus on providing better school buildings like other local school districts have done. Based on the growing building issues and how old they are, we should build a new school to build a better educational setting. Let's not lose sight of the current students while planning for the future students. We need to stop reacting to emergencies in the structures of our buildings and start acting to build solid foundations for our schools, children, teachers, employees, and community of the Blackhawk School District.
Blackhawk. Familiar with Blackhawk from day one, Northwestern from day one. We had 5 children go through there. Granddaughter. I'm also from Darlington Borough, and I'm vice president of Darlington Borough Council. We have seen over the years the studies. We've seen them recently. We've seen them a few years ago. We've signed off with the Beaver Falls Water Authority years ago to have the water brought out to Northwestern when they were talking about the renovations and the repairs out there. So that's not a problem out there. I know some folks say, okay, well, I've been here a few years, or close it, it's a problem. Well, some people can't move out or don't want to move out. So I don't believe that that's an answer. You're talking about raising the taxes quite a bit if we put $33 million into a combined school. You're talking about 10 million, plus we get money back, and we're gonna lose that if we don't move on it in the next couple years to get Northwestern back to where it can be a viable school. No, it's been closed for years. It's been closed for 2 years, 2.5 years. You know what? That's not a problem. The whole time we should have been looking at how to repair it and how to make the repairs instead of all this like fake news, or not even just fake news, just ignorance, I guess you would call it, as to the situation. The football field, whatever, it's gone. It doesn't matter. I've lived there all my life. Do I like listening to Friday night football game from my house or walking up? Yes, but you know what? Good for the people that made a new field out here and did it. That's fine. It's not about the athletics, which some people really would like it to be. And I know that's been a big part of Blackhawk. But it's about the education and the busing. And I have a granddaughter that has to ride for 45 minutes on a bus from Darlington just to go to Chippewa. She rides with middle schoolers that use foul language, call her foul names. Not just her, other children. She's ridden different buses. It's just financially better if we keep Northwestern open. The options that we have that they show, it would make Northwestern almost like a brand new school. And if you close Northwestern, then guess what? You're gonna have to close Patterson and then combine. And is everybody in Patterson gonna wanna go to Chippewa? It's just not a viable option to just say, okay, well, close it because it's just old, or you can move away because you can't afford the taxes. True, a lot of people in Darlington and in South Beaver, you know what? A lot of them don't have children now and they're still paying the amount of taxes. Okay, let's go from $1,000 a year to $4,000 a year in taxes. Well, I guess the old people need to move away. No, you know what? Let them pay for a school that has been a part of Blackhawk history, that has been very good to this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Doug Hupp, H-U-P-P. I grew up in the school district. I actually grew up in Darlington. Now I live in Patterson. I rode a bus for 45 minutes to go to Northwestern. It was not a great building then either. Us spending a lot of money to repair a building because we think there's history there is not a great option. My kids go to the Patterson school right now. They move to the Chippewa, I wouldn't have the problem. These kids who ride 45 minutes on a bus, kids ride 45 minutes to go to Northwestern. It doesn't matter, it's not a big deal. Kids adapt. I drive 45 minutes a day to go to work in Pittsburgh. I do it so I can live in a good school district. Us spending more money on a building we don't need is not a good option. Building new buildings that are properly equipped for modern classrooms, computers, quality, internet access, that's the way to go.
Thank you. Do we have,
How you doing? My name is Rob Zielinski. I'm from Union Valley, Z-I-E-L-I-N-S-K-E. The bus rides for the younger kids, I do things too long. 45, 50 minutes is what my kids are on the bus for. I'm looking at one of my daughters going into kindergarten next year. It's too long. It's a long, long ride. My older daughter had an accident twice, as a matter of fact, on the way home because they got on the bus, go, oh crap, I gotta go to the bathroom. It's a long time to hold it when they're 7 years old, 6 years old. Beyond that, aside from any personal feelings, here I want to read this to you. This is from the Florida Statutes, Title 16, Education, Chapter 235, Educational Facilities. This is regarding their legislative findings. Granted, it's Florida, but it's still, this is solid research. Smaller schools provide benefits of reduced discipline problems and crime, reduced truancy and gang participation, not that that's probably a problem here, reduced dropout rates, improved teacher and student attitudes, improved student self-perception, student academic achievement equal to or superior to that of students at larger schools, and increased parental involvement. Section C says smaller schools can provide these benefits while not increasing administrative and construction costs. Honestly, I don't care about the history of the school. I agree with what the gentleman said earlier, that the history is not a great reason to keep the school open. However, if we're looking for the overall benefit to the community, you can't even really look at just the financial part of it. You have to look at what we're building. What you're building is students. What you're building are mature adults that have a solid education. The bigger your classroom size, the bigger problem you have. The one lady said that earlier. It's overcrowded. And one of the ways that we can solve that is reopening Northwestern and using that school properly. If it's renovated properly and is upgraded to be modern, like the gentleman before me said, they're gonna have access to all the modern things that they need, computers. Half of them are using tablets and you don't really need anything for that. You just pop open a Wi-Fi router and bam, you're good to go. So a lot of those things can be accomplished and probably accomplished at a much more reasonable dollar rate than building an entire new building. Anybody that's looked at getting a new house, you look at one thing first. Is this house worth renovating? That's a solid building, solid guts. You renovate it, fix it up, and you move on, and you have solid teachers in there giving the kids a good, well-rounded education. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Don Inman. I'm Vice President of the Patterson Township Board of Commissioners, but also a 12-year board member of this board and also a former president of the board. When I left 6 years ago, VEBH was our architects, and they said that at that time that we had fixed up Northwestern. We had put over $500,000 into Northwestern, and that all it needed was windows and air conditioning. I was not even going to come to the meeting until I saw the thing in the paper today, and it kind of upset me a little bit because people make comments, but yet they don't really know the facts, I don't think. It said that there was asbestos in the building. I'm sure you may have found some. But when we left 6 years ago, VEBH told us that the only asbestos in the building that we had not removed was the asbestos that was in the tunnels underneath, which was wrapped around the pipes that are hidden, which you never see. I'm concerned about crowding issues. Having been a board member, when I was here, we tried to keep our elementary down around 16 to 18 people. If we got to 20, we got concerned. I know that you have at least one third grade that last year had 26 people in it. I also know that you lost a special education teacher because she had 20 students. She left here and went to West Allegheny, and now she has 8. One of the things that I used to laugh about in the newspapers was they were always talking about the sewage system. I was a certified sewage enforcement officer for 30 years, investigated the system, found out that what had happened was that they had taken the manhole covers off and had put manhole covers on that had holes in it, and that's why you could smell the system. I talked to Jim Perlich about it. They took those manhole covers out, put in solid manhole covers, and the smell went away. The other thing is that When I inspected the system, I could find nothing wrong with it. I understand from my connections, the Darlington Township Storage Enforcement Officer inspected, he could find nothing wrong with it. When the state came, not only did they not find anything wrong with it, but they also found a separate field, a drain field, so, which said that the system would probably go forever. And then one of the things was in the newspaper is they found fecal material on the lawn and the ball field. And when I went out to the Industrial Museum, which is just around the corner from that, I had fecal material in the yard about that big around that had been a bear running through Dorrington. And so apparently they didn't understand what it was. The heating system, when I left, we had a new boiler, but I'll have to admit that one of the things that VEBH said we should consider was a spare. Concerns that I have about the money spent on Northwestern, as I said, we spent over $500,000. We borrowed $28 million, but we put money into every school building. So if you close these school buildings, you're going to lose 14%. As an example now, you're going to lose 14% a year of your $500,000 that you put into Northwestern. I would be in favor of fixing it up. 15 million, I'd rather see 15 million, the district borrow that than borrow 50 million. And Plan Farm is closed, from what I understand, is now frozen. And so you'll get no reimbursement in anything that you do. Thank you.
Excuse me, sir, could you please spell your last name?
Inman, I-N-M-A-N.
Thank you.
Good evening. This is my first opportunity of being here. My name is Melanie Todorich, Todorich. I'm of South Beaver Township. Absolutely love it. Born and raised in Beaver Falls, educated at Quigley, Mount Clifton Academy, and Holy Trinity. Very proud of my education. Very proud of the Blackhawk School District. You guys have problems here. I have a granddaughter who's in first grade going to second grade. You have issues with bullying. You need to address them. The bullying issues and the cyber schools that are going and popping up out there and are existing. I have a daughter-in-law who's a teacher down in Beaver. They're losing students big time because of bullying. You're talking about dumping $50 million or whatever into improving, redeveloping, whatever. I personally think that's a drop in the bucket. You're going to be losing students. It's out of your control. It's out of all of our control. You need to get a grip on that, first of all. I am also with the Little Beaver Lions Club. We tutor. We tutor at Biz. We've been tutoring between Northwestern and Biz for about 15 years. We tutor math, we tutor reading. Mrs. Ladon knows, and we do a very good job. There's about 25 of us who come in 4 or 5 days a week to tutor. When we moved to Biz, the amount of steps you have to climb to go back and forth, the chaos of the kids going every direction. As that school was added and chopped up in the stairwells and everything, there is a lot of confusion there. Not so much for the kids, because once they finally learn about it, they get it down. It's not really handicap accessible for anyone. It's not a good school at all. As the one gentleman had said, if you want to sell a property, you're not going to get any money supposedly for Northwestern, well then sell Biz. There's your capital, big time. You're in Chippewa, the cranberry of Beaver County. Sell Biz then. Let them level it off. Let whoever develop whatever they want to there, since it's such a valuable area, Chippewa is. There's extra money there, income for them. More than enough of that money could develop and condition, and as Mr. Inman said about all the points of what is going on with Northwestern, you would have more than enough money to improve that. You have not paid off, if I remember correctly, the bill that you floated for Biz, when you refurbished Biz. I remember years Biz was condemned. It still floods out in the gymnasium there. Then you floated bills for Highland Middle School. Been in that school, ran a food drive in there. That's a little bit of a chaos too. I have to give the teachers there, Amy Anderson and the whole crew, credit for having a nice school there and working with it as best they can. It's not, a simple layout, although. Biz is not a simple layout. Highland Middle School is not a simple layout. Northwestern, when we tutored there, it was a simple, understandable layout. It's conditioned for a second tier. You can put it in there. You can let all those schools, elementary school people, I'll leave it, Mr. Nelson, come and be all in one building there. The only other thing I went to see a, what sport is it, Bev, that the girls play? Lacrosse game. You talk about fecal material. Went to see a lacrosse game at our new football field. Watched one of the girls bend over, pick something up, and fire it off to the side. Didn't know what it was until she, after the game, figured it out. Asked her. Goose poop. Goose poop all over the field. You aren't going to do anything to correct that. We live in the country. You can have that anywhere and everywhere. You need to listen to the studies. Mr. Inman knows what he's talking about. These other people know what they're talking about. Don't act hastily with this, and I believe in a referendum on the ballot in November is the only fair way that you can do anything about this before you start putting money out. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else at this time that would like to address the board? Oh, wait 1 second.
Okay, go ahead. Well, I just have, I think a question that probably everybody in here wants to hear.
You want to go up to the mic just to make sure they can hear it?
After having a CAC committee spend with a $65,000 budget and a public relations of $20,000, and there's demographics going on with 15,000. Why in the Lord's name would you put this on the table at this point in time when you're right in the middle of a study? Why wouldn't you let this run out through its due process and then let that work out rather than have a separate thing just to push Northwestern out of the way? I'd like to have somebody answer that.
I will, well, one, and I know, and I'm just going to answer this one. One, we're at the end of the study. Two, we didn't spend $20,000 on marketing when it was never approved. Okay?
It was out there, though.
It was out there, but never approved.
Oh, yeah, I understand.
So, no, we saw the community-based study through its end. And now, based on the information of that community-based study, it was motioned to, look at the potential closing of the school, and that's why we're here tonight, to get the public opinion.
Like I said, I think it's a personal issue, Mrs. Ziegler. And you listen to everybody out here. Everybody hasn't made up their mind. Everybody doesn't know what's going on. Four guys that came to cut a tree down at my house the other day out in South Beaver didn't have a clue what all is going on.
Well, and the biggest thing, and I will just, stress one point, that because you mentioned this, is, you think it's Mrs. Ziegler, but it takes 5 people on the board to pass any motions. A motion was made, and if there weren't 5 members, the motion would have died at that point. But there are 5 people, so you cannot pin it on one individual.
Thank you.
Mr. Yonke?
Thank you, Mr. Schaefer. I'd like to approach this with a common sense idea. Speaking with Amy Anderson a little while ago, looking at the enrollment, it looks to me like you're going to end up with somewhere in the neighborhood of about 650 to 700 kids at Highland. In Pennsylvania, a middle school is 5, 6, and 7, 6, 7, 8, or 5, 6, 7, and 8. There are a lot of middle schools across the state that are 5, 6, 7, and 8, so I would keep that in mind. I think that the school district has grown in terms of the municipalities involved, and there's a rallying of support for the Blackhawk School District throughout. I fear that the path that we're on right now, from what I've read, what I've heard, you're going to fracture the community. If you eliminate Northwestern, you're telling those people, we want your kids, we want your money, but you don't get a school. Region 2 has 3 loaves of bread. Patterson has a half a loaf of bread, and Northwestern has no bread. That's not right. Our government is set up so that there's equal representation across, so that Rhode Island and Texas and California and New York and Delaware, they all participate. You're telling the people in Northwestern, you're sending a message, and I've talked to a lot of people out there. They feel they've been rejected. That's important to think about that. About the children. There's a difference between an elementary child that's 5, 6, 7 years old than a child that's 8, 9. You're talking about a mega school here where you're going to have 1,000 students, and every study you look at will tell you, every study I've looked at least, that elementary schools should be between 400 and 500, max 500. You're talking about at least 1,000 in what we're doing. So I would hope that we would take a look at that. And the other thing that I don't know if it was mentioned, I can't hear back there too well with a PA system we have. That 14%, has that been mentioned? Do you know what I'm talking about? The 14%, the reimbursement?
Yeah, plan fund.
The Northwestern school is the only school that's going to have state reimbursement. All the other, whatever we do, regardless of that, it's going to be 100% local effort. 27% of our students are on free lunch. That means that they're at the poverty level. Another 35 to 38% are on retirement. That means that their incomes are pretty much stable. They're not going to go up or down. They're going to stay about where they are. So a tax increase that it would take to build a new school, the one that was supported when I was at the meeting the last time, is going to cost between $30 and $35 million. I don't think we can afford that. I would rather use that money for instruction, for materials, for books, software. My time is up. All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Hey, Ken, just correct me if I spell this wrong. Is it Y-O-N-K-E-E? 2 E's or 1 E? Your last name, 2 E's. Y-O-N-K-E-E.
Good evening. My name is Mark Hoenig, Chippewa Township, H-O-E-N-I-G. First, let me say all due respect to Mr. Yonke and Mr. Sutton. I played with their sons. I believe that no matter what you do, the community will come together and still be a strong community. 40 years ago, Patterson Heights, West Mayfield, Chippewa, Enon, Darlington, we came together as a school. We played for a football championship that year. We came together. We brought this community together, and I think we can do it again, no matter what happens with what you do with Northwestern. All that being said, I am vehemently opposed to you reopening Northwestern. I believe that you would be throwing good money away. I would like you to consider moving the 8th grade into the high school. Look, you can say what you want to say about it. My daughter was there, my friends' kids were there. If that solves the crowding problem, I think it's something you have to consider. You need to get a good, solid 5-year plan to possibly build or add on to the existing school. You don't have to do anything now. You don't have to be the board that spends $30 million to do something today. I believe having one campus or something close to that keeps costs down on staff and maintenance. Did they like it when West Mayfield Elementary closed? Probably not. Did they like it when South Beaver Elementary closed? Probably not. The fact of the matter is, and Mr. Yonke just stated it, there's a lot of people in this district that are on a fixed income. I'm not so sure now is the time to spend $30 million to either renovate or build. Get a 5 or 10 year plan, get the schools consolidated, hopefully into one campus, and move on from there. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do we have anyone else that would like to address the board?
Dean Fleischman, Fleischman, Chippewa Township. I like what Mark just had to say, because I think Mark understands how you deal with a budget and how you deal with the community. Chippewa has different sides to its community. Some areas have more money, some others don't, some sort of in the middle. You have to look at a whole community and make decisions based on that. You have to see all the people that are there. So the smart decision at this point, quite honestly, coming on the backs of the Highland project, which was supposed to be 15 million, not 20, and the teacher's contract, which was not supposed to be 18%, it was 8%. The numbers bear that out, and we're not going to go there. Right now, we have no money to do anything, sensibly. Not to spend $30 million, and not to put this district in a position where they can do nothing for 70 years. There's a young woman at Wimbledon, 16 years old. It's getting a lot of attention right now. Let's put this into perspective. If you build this building, you build it this year, that young woman would be 87 years old before you could do something else in this district. Think about that. Perspective is critical to understanding the decision-making process. There's also something else that's out there, something I have no problem with because I've lived on that side of Chippewa much of my whole life, a block down, and I would have been a student at Beaver Falls. Why haven't we talked to Beaver Falls? Why hasn't our superintendent gotten Donna Nugent on the phone and just said, let's throw it out there. Let's put together for your board members, for our board members, and let's talk. Is this an option that might work for us in a time of declining enrollment, in a time where sharing resources is critical to being able to provide a solid education while also being respectful to people's finances and their ability to pay their taxes? I know some people want nothing to do with Beaver Falls. One person is known for, has made derogatory comments about Beaver Falls. We won't go there. That person knows. Somebody else knows who they are too. That's the danger of an IP address. But that being said, why not Beaver Falls? Why not that option? Why not explore it? That way you can honestly say you've looked at everything. And I think when you take that type of perspective with whatever decision you make, you can honestly say comfortably and with good conscience, and on that day that you stand in front of God, that I did it and I did it the best way that I could. Nobody expects you to be perfect. This is not a job you can do in a perfect fashion. But you have to look at all people and their frame of reference and all options that will make this ultimately the best decision. To repeat what Mark said, this board does not have to be the board that makes that decision. And having sat in that chair, I can tell you guys, now is not the time. Do not act on this. You did good research and you can be proud of that, but you have to come back to the community and say, we wish that we could, but we can't. Much the same way as many of you as parents have said to your child, you want a $500 prom dress? Honey, we wish that we could, but we can't. $30 million school, we wish that we could, but we can't. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else at this time?
Gary, Paumen, P-A-U-M-E-N, Patterson Heights. This is my first board meeting I've gone to here in our district, so I really don't have a lot of history to go along with it. But for my own edification, I'd like to at least know who I'm talking to. Would you all mind at least telling me who you are? Because I don't know any of you. So,
Sure.
Thank you.
We could, maybe we should have started, you should have cut us off at the beginning and we could have started with that, but I'm Doug Schaefer. I live in Chippewa Township and I'm the school board president. So, I guess just kind of yell out. We don't have microphones for
I'm
everybody.
Neil Morrison, I'm the vice president of the school board, I live in South Beaver.
I'm Dan Jones. I'm from Patterson Township. I'm the treasurer of the school board.
Bonnie Gehring, South Beaver Township, Region 1.
Melissa Ziegler, I live in Chippewa Township, Region 2.
Kathy Helsing, I live in Chippewa, it's Region 2. I'm just actually filling in the rest of the year for someone who resigned.
John Battaglia, Chippewa Township, Region 1.
Dr. Frank McCosey, Chippewa Township, Region 2.
Love it. And then we have Eric Brandenburg at the end, who's the business manager.
Dr. Robert Postapak, Superintendent of Schools.
Victor Kostra, Solicitor.
Marianne Ledon, Director of Curriculum and Instruction.
Would we introduce?
I'm Scott Nelson, the high school principal.
Rick Ford, Assistant High School Principal.
Mike Arbogast, Assistant Middle School Principal.
Amy Anderson, Principal at Highland Middle School.
Jody Baroni, I'm the principal at Biz.
I'm Elizabeth Altenhoff, I'm the Special Education Director.
Behind the curtain.
You're welcome.
I'm Dominic Borrello, B-O-R-E-L-L-O. I live in Patterson Township. I put 4 kids through this school. The only thing I want to say, it's going to be very easy. I talked to other board members. I thought they're no longer here. NorthWestern, get a D9 bulldozer and plow it over. Because it's scrap. I've been in construction for 50 years. That building is not worth fixing. The gymnasium floor, we had trouble with that for years, and you people that were out there know that. Kids go out on the floor, they slip and fall. That means there's moisture coming from under the ground. Number 2, what I propose, if I was on that school board, I would put 6 classrooms on Highland Middle School and a gymnasium. It's not going to cost you $40 million, believe me. If you watch what you do, I think 6 or 7, 8 classrooms is all you need. And to eliminate the fields out in Chippewa, the baseball fields, you've got to be, is that where you plan to build a new school? Where you plan to build a new school?
There is no plan.
Yeah, there is no plan right now.
Well, I heard,
mean,
I heard that they were going to use the field.
No,
That would be ridiculous.
no. I mean, that's not.
Okay, my proposal, if I was on board, I would look at putting 6 classrooms in Highland. You have more ground out there than you know what to do. And people say, we can't do it. Don't tell me we can't do it. We can do it. Bulldoze NorthWestern down tomorrow. If I had a bulldozer, I'd do it for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have anyone else that would like to address the board? Okay, I'm going to make just one statement and then closing remarks. And I don't know if the superintendent will like this, but I'm going to go off script for just 1 minute. We definitely appreciate everybody coming out tonight and giving your comments and your opinion. And again, I'll state this again, that we truly appreciate everybody coming out. I would like to stress, if possible, we heard a lot of different people speak tonight. And you know, from my perspective as a board member and being on the board for 4 years, there was some information that was accurate, and I'll say there was some information that I don't feel was accurate. And I would encourage, instead of, you know, potentially, and I'm not saying that you do this, but instead of relying on maybe what you read in Facebook or what you see as a letter to the editor in the newspaper, please come to the board meetings and hear for yourselves what's actually being talked about. The biggest thing, and obviously that you know, we're discussing the possibility of closing NorthWestern as part of a grand or a larger plan. You know, and I think that fits with what Mr. Honing talked about and what Mr. Fleshman had talked about. You know, I see comments all the time, and I'm as guilty as everybody. I look on Facebook and, you know, sometimes I'm sitting there just ready to respond and I gotta pull my hands back because it won't do any good. You know, there is no plan right now that we are gonna spend $30 million. We are not voting to spend $30 million. In my personal opinion, we do not have $30 million to spend at this point in time. But we need to put a plan in place, and we need to start moving down the road. As the one woman spoke, you know, earlier, you know, we need to take action and not be reactive all the time. And that's truly what we're looking at. And like I said, I would truly encourage all of you to come to board meetings. This will probably be discussed over the next, you know, several, you know, board meetings. We have a board meeting next week. You know, there would definitely be, if you came to those board meetings and addressed the board, there would be more dialogue than what we had tonight. So I would definitely encourage, you know, everybody to do that and come and hear it firsthand. You know, just hear it for yourselves, know exactly what's going on. If there's something that you don't understand, please come to a board meeting and ask us directly. Don't rely on other sources of information. So with that, again, I'd like to thank you all for your participation tonight. The board must wait 3 months from today before it can take a vote to close NorthWestern. Oh.
Question, you're addressing a board meeting next week. Where, what time, and what day?
It's on Tuesday at 7 p.m. and they are in the high school library. And hopefully if we get everybody to attend those, we will move it to in here, which I would love to see, because I wish every meeting was in here and we had community involvement that we could make decisions. Yes?
Mr. Schaefer, question for the attorney. Is it legal to have this 3-minute time limit?
Yes,
That just seems to be too low and unfair.
it's legal.
Well, first of all, and I think, and I don't know if anybody disagrees, but I think we gave everybody the opportunity to speak. So, any other just quick comments before I wrap it up? All right, so again, thank you for your participation tonight. The board must wait 3 months from today before it can take a vote to close NorthWestern, should someone make a motion to do so. I imagine that the board will engage in discussion regarding NorthWestern at its meetings over the course of the next several months. I am confident that your comments from tonight will play an important role in our decision. With that, we will end the hearing at, if I can find the right button, 8 p.m. So thanks again for coming.